Hi, this is Scott with 4D Tech. Today we are in a 13 to 16 body style Ford Fusion that came equipped with the 4-inch screen. We will be showing you how to do the 4D Tech 4-inch to 8-inch upgrade with Sync 2 Myford Touch. In order to do this upgrade, you need a few basic tools. You'll need plastic dash removal tools and a 7mm nut driver. The nut driver and plastic dash removal tools are available on our website for your convenience. Let's get started. First, we need to remove this black piece of trim around the shifter. So we'll take one of our dash removal tools and get underneath the front edge of it and use our fingers as well and unsnap it. There are also clips back here in between the two silver sections that need to be unsnapped. We'll set that aside. Next, we need to unsnap this silver trim that goes around the back side of the shifter here. We'll work our way around with our dash removal tool. Set that aside as well. Now we'll need to remove the silver piece of trim that goes all the way around the bezel and vents. The easiest way to do this is to get your fingers underneath one side here. And you can also help with the trim removal tool. Get underneath the edge here and unsnap it. And then we'll do this side as well. Once those are unsnapped, we can work our way up around the piece of trim, prying it out and helping with our hands. Once the trim is out, we need to remove the bezel around the existing 4-inch screen with the controls in it. There are two 7mm screws on each side of the knobs here that need to come out. Once those two screws are out, we can pull this bezel forward, putting our fingers underneath it and unsnap it. Once we tilt it down, there's two connectors that need to be disconnected here. This further connector has a clip right where my thumb is, where we'll squeeze it and unplug it. This one has a clip right at the top edge here. We'll squeeze that with our thumb as well and pull the connector out. This bezel can get set out of the way as well, as it will not be used in the new installation. Next, we need to remove the screws that hold in the existing 4-inch screen and remove the screws for the audio control module as well. We'll remove the existing 4-inch screen. And there's a connector on the back here that has a lever on it. You'll push this little tab in front of the lever where my finger is and pull the lever towards you and it'll push the connector out. We can take this screen also and set it out of the way as it will not be used again. Next, we'll pull the audio control module forward. We will need to make a connection to the back of it. As we install our conversion harness, we're going to pull it out of the way so we can start running our wiring. When we pull out the audio control module, we'll unplug this center connector here, as we'll be teeing into that as part of the conversion process. We'll push the tab where you see my thumb and slide it out. And we'll set that aside. To begin the conversion process, we'll start to install our 4-inch to 8-inch conversion harness. With this conversion harness, we're going to start with this large 54-pin connector here. The mating connector to this is at the sync module down near the firewall below the console. What we're going to do is feed this down in that direction and then pick it up on the bottom side to connect it. Also, at the same time, we will be routing our wiring back for the new hub. This small connector here with this black cable needs to get routed to the back of the car, so we're going to send that down along with this connector. There will be space down in the corner here. You'll want to route it down, and once you're on the lower side, you will be able to pick it up and see where you're pushing it. While we are down here, we're going to have to route a USB cable as well. In the kit is both a cable and an extension. They do clip together. It does not matter what order you put them in. You'll end up with a male connector at each end that are the same. So we're going to route this down in the same path as it's going to follow the hub connector. Next thing we need to do is remove the side panel of the console to get to the sync module and run our cabling back for the hub. We'll just grab a hold of this panel with our fingers, getting it over and above it, and pull out. If we work our way back a little bit, you can just bend it out of the way. You do not need to completely take it out. The sync module is on a bracket all the way up in this corner, and it's just kind of snapped in. So you just need to grab a hold of it and slide it out. We'll slide it out, and there's a 54-pin connector in this USB cable. To disconnect the USB cable, there's a clip on the back side of it here where my finger is. Squeeze the clip and unplug it. Then you'll have plenty of slack. You're going to want to pull this clip that's held onto this metal bracket. Push this tab in front of the gray lever, pull the gray lever towards you to unplug this connector. We can actually set this module out of the way. Now what we'll do is get our wiring the rest of the way down into this opening that we sent down earlier. We should have the large connector we sent down, the small connector, and the USB cable. We'll pull all the slack to the gray connector down, and enough on the USB cable. We do have an extension that's going to go on this, so leave enough up here to be able to easily connect to the new module. To plug these together, leave the lever swung out towards you. This will only plug in one way, so you may need to turn it 180 degrees to get it to slide in. When it starts to slide in, the lever will start to move. Move the lever with it till it clips in, and you'll see that this is flat to the connector there, this little tab. This can actually just get shoved up in this opening, and also the USB cable that we disconnected does nothing as we're running a new USB cable. We'll take the extension that came with the kit for the USB cable and plug it in. And we'll route these cables along the side of this console and back to here. We need to take this USB plate out here, and it's going to get replaced with the hub. When we pop the plate out, on the back side of it, there's going to be an above tab and a lower tab that need to get released at the same time. You'll need to hold one while you pop the other and then slide the cable out. This cable will get tucked down in the opening as it will not be used again. Next, we'll pull both the USB cable and the power connector up through the opening. We'll make sure that these wires are just tucked in a way where they're not going to come out when we put the panel back on. They can get tucked underneath the edge of the carpet. This panel, which we'll just snap it back on real quick while we're over here, but it just snaps back on the same way it came off earlier. There is a lip on the upper side of the panel that just needs to go up underneath, and then it all snaps on. Now we'll grab our hub to install that. Now that we have the hub cables run to the opening, we need to install the hub that was provided in the kit. It comes with a mounting adapter that you plug the hub into and slide it in until it clicks in to take up the larger opening. You'll also take the map card that came with the kit and slide it in the SD card slot and push it in until it clicks. When you flip it over, you'll plug in the two cables as follows. Plug in the gray connector in right there, and then diagonal from it you'll plug in the USB cable. The USB cable won't plug into the other slot, so don't worry about plugging it into the wrong opening. Next, we'll take this, slide it into the opening, and snap it in. Next, we need to continue routing the conversion harness. This cable here with the couple of wires with pins hanging off of it will get routed to the connectors that plug into the front control panel. To do this, we'll pull the ACM forward, and you'll want to push it behind the black plastic brace that's behind the ACM and bring it out down below it. We'll do that because we don't want the cable to get pinched between the ACM and that brace. Once we have that pulled forward, you can just prop the ACM up like that to keep it out of your way. This connector here, that's the right angle connector, will get plugged in to this connector from the conversion harness here as it's teeing in. Next, we need to connect this T harness that's got the orange wires in it to the back of the ACM. We'll pull the ACM out. We'll take this, tuck it behind this and around the back brace here. We'll take the connector that we unplugged from the ACM earlier, plug it into the one side of the T-harness, and then the other side will plug into the back of the ACM. Slide our ACM back in place, making sure not to trap any of the connectors that we just put, that we still need to get to. Next, if you have a rear view camera that comes up on the screen, you'll need to put in this camera retention harness. With the clip horizontal from the connector that you unplugged from the back of the 4-inch screen, you'll plug it into this connector till the lever starts to move and lock it into place. Then you'll plug the two yellow connectors together. the yellow connector that came from our conversion harness to the video pigtail. And we'll tuck that out of the way. Next, we need to install the GPS antenna that comes with the Sync 3 system. What we're going to end up doing is pulling out this vent structure here by removing the 4 screws across there so we can locate it just above the ductwork below the dash pad. You can just pull forward on the vents once you have the screws out. We'll flip it over and there's a small connector in between the vents that is for the hazard switch. And you'll push where my thumb is, there's a little clip and the connector unplugs. We'll set this aside for a moment. We're going to locate the antenna using the double-sided adhesive that came in the kit right on top of this piece of vent right here because it'll be below the dash pad with no metal above it. I've already placed the adhesive pad that comes with the kit on the back side of the antenna. We do include an alcohol wipe to clean both surfaces before you apply the pad. So I'll reach up here and clean the surface on the top of that ductwork. We'll take just a few coils off, that's all we're going to need from the antenna. We'll run the wire down and around, tuck the coil in, and we'll just push down on the ductwork to get the antenna in place up above the ductwork and then let go. And now it's stuck up there, it's right below the dash pad. And we'll reinstall our vents. You need to take this connector, be sure to reconnect the hazard switch by sliding it in until it clicks. Then we'll take the vents, push those back in place as well, and replace the 4 screws across the bottom. Now that the conversion harness is installed, next we need to install the Myford Touch Sync 2 screen and module. This will come together with the brackets attached also from 4D Tech. On the back of the module, you'll want to make sure that if this lever is in the closed position when you get the harness, you push the button in front of the lever with your finger and pull the lever towards you to open it. This needs to be in the open form in order to plug into the module. We'll slide that into the connector on the module and push in until the lever starts to move. Once the lever starts to move, push the lever the rest of the way till it locks to lock the connector in. It's very important that this connector is fully seated in order for the unit to function properly. The USB cable that we ran will plug into the black port with the clip facing up on the back of the module till it clicks. Then we'll set the screen and module in place, and we'll put the 4 screws back in that came out of the other screen along with the 2 upper screws for the ACM. These 2 screw holes down below are the screws that come through the front bezel, so do not put screws in those at this time. With the screws back in place, we now need to install the new 8-inch opening front control panel bezel that came with the kit from 4D Tech. This will reconnect the same way that the 4-inch bezel came out. You'll take the new connector from the T-harness from the conversion harness and plug it into the connector closest to the driver's side, just pushing that all the way in. Next, we'll take this connector with the clip facing up and plug it into the bezel as well, until that clicks in. When you put the bezel on, you'll want to make sure you tuck the connectors from the T-harness and the wiring in under the ACM so it doesn't get caught and prevent the bezel from going on. We'll snap it in place, and then we'll replace the screws at the bottom corners. We'll now replace the silver trim that was around the bezel and vents. You'll just set it in place and then begin to snap it back in by working your way around. Next, we need to run the can opener flash programmer that comes in the kit to program other modules in the vehicle to accept the 4-inch to 8-inch conversion. You need to make sure that the pigtail is attached to the can opener flash before you try and run it. You will take the end of the pigtail and with the ignition on or the vehicle running, plug it into the diagnostic port underneath the dash. Plug it into the diagnostic port, push it in firmly, and we'll turn it so you can see the LEDs on the programmer. It'll blink blue while it is running the program. And while it is doing it, it'll reset your audio control module a couple times. Once the programming is complete, the light will turn green on the programmer, and now the modules are programmed in the vehicle. You can then unplug the can opener flash programmer as it is no longer needed to be connected to the vehicle. Now that the install is complete, we'll fire up the system for the first time. Once the system fires up, you'll see that we now have Sync 2 Myford Touch installed in this vehicle. Because this kit was optioned with the navigation option, we also have navigation maps as well. When upgrading to the 8-inch bezel with our kit, you do also gain automatic climate controls, and those come up on the screen as well. The one thing to keep in mind is that this will be single zone automatic climate controls, so only the driver's side controls will function the entire climate system. Now you see how simple it is to do the 4-inch to 8-inch conversion from Myford Touch Sync 2 in a 13 to 16 Fusion using the 4D Tech kit. Thank you for checking out our video. I'm Scott with 4D Tech.